Good morning, happy Cinco de Mayo. It is Sunday here at the AAO, and we're on the busy exhibit hall floor, and I'm joined here by Alex Rasmussen. We are going to do a few minutes talking about neon canvas. I first wanted to talk, though, about last night's Pearls party that I'm extremely tired from, and you might still see some guy liner from. We have some special guests that I want to have come on. Cole, come show your face. Cole is here. My ratings are going to go through the roof right when this face hits the screen. Look at that.
This is what it looks like when you leave your mascara on. Forget to take it off.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
It's all good. What do you want to say to the people?
I want to tell the people that I'm just happy to be alive, man. Cinco de Mayo.
So offensive. Whatever that little sound was. No, Cole was amazing last night. If you weren't there, it was amazing. What a guy.
Reviews are in.
The reviews are in. So I wanted to kind of jump right in here. We're going to have 4 guests on today. We had 4 guests yesterday, and I do want to thank them by name. Dr. Lisa Alvitro, Katie Masson, Dr. Dr. Greg Jorgensen, and Dr. Glenn Krieger. It was fantastic for 90 minutes. If you haven't watched that episode, watch it. Today is episode 10, and we have 4 more doctors. We have what I'm going to be calling the Maz and Koz Hour. That's Maz Moshiri and Jeff Kozlowski. I have trademarked that. And then I'm going to have Dr. Sean Carlson and lastly Dr. Dan Bills. First, though, let me play my theme song, and then Alex and I are going to talk. Alex, how many times have you heard this theme song now?
Many times.
Me too, buddy.
I still, every time, get a little head
It's
bob,
pretty good.
a little left, a little right.
Somebody asked if I wrote this song. I did not write this song.
Twice, yeah.
Get the little logo in there. There we go. Little product placement.
Yep. There we go.
So you probably know this, and if you don't, now you will, but I'm a co-founder of Neon Canvas, which is the digital marketing agency. This booth is here this weekend because of Neon Canvas. Started doing the Digital Orthodontist YouTube videos through that, and then have switched that into now an interview show. And then Alex and I have been together, 3 years? Worked together 3 years before that, building a website, doing SEO, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to bring him on, and I want to kind of give you guys some value. He's an expert at digital marketing, SEO, all that sort of stuff. I think we build the best websites in orthodontics. But if you're out there and you're already working with a company, or maybe you're about to start up a practice, I want to ask him maybe 2 or 3 things that you need to know about digital marketing that you need to do to help your business. So what do you got?
You know, I think the most important thing is looking at your website. Is it converting at the highest level? I mean, a lot of people have redesigned their website in recent past. They've wanted to add video. They wanted to make sure they're mobile friendly. But I see these sites all the time that have so many confusing calls to action. Do you want to learn about the doctor? Do you want to meet the staff? Do you want to dive into services? Really, I think you've got to get that main call to action on your website. Very simple, top right, bold, make it for a free consultation. Make it very simple and take away the confusion. Make sure that your website is converting at the highest levels for what's closest to the money, which is going to be your consultations.
Cool. So Google AdWords is a big kind of talking point, and it's funny, you'll read things on the Facebook groups where people are thinking it's a waste of money, or there's actually a really common thought that people that you get off digital are low quality leads and it's not worth it. And I'll say 2 things about that. They are lower quality leads. If I have a dentist send me a patient, it's going to convert more often, but I still convert a lot of digital leads. But let's assume that it is worth the effort, and I think we both would agree that it is. What should a doctor be spending on Google AdWords?
I think $1,500 a month is a great start for you in digital and your digital spend. You could split that across Google AdWords and dip your toe with Facebook and Instagram as well. Make sure that your story is being told well, that you're not just having placement ads out there. But if you're going to spend money in one place, put it into Google, spend about $1,500, and you should be getting a return off that. Again, we got to go back to the conversion piece that we talked about earlier. If you're not getting leads from that, you need to look at your landing page, you need to look at your website and figure out why you're not converting those. But assuming that they're converting, look, sales is about law of averages, folks. The more you put in the top of the funnel, the more that's coming out the bottom. So, Google AdWords, it makes it very simple. You can buy leads from them. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
$1,500.
Yeah, so we actually do a lot more than that, and I think it's sort of like a faucet. It's how much water do you want in your bathtub? So we turn the faucet on a little bit more, and then for some, they might want a little bit less. So as I was starting out, I think I was doing $500 or $600. Have slowly, raised that and raised that and raised that. So
every year, because the return is there, and we track it. That's the other piece of that. You don't want to just take $1,500 and throw it against the wall. We want to know exactly what happened to that money. We track it all. We make sure that it's doing what it needs to do.
And we're also of Google Ads, and then we're going to bring Maz Moshiri on. I think it's the best way that we can compete against direct-to-consumer aligners, because in our local markets, we can show up number 1, number 2, number 3 on Google Ads, and we can compete in that way. And so I think you can be very strategic about that. So if people want to come see Neon Canvas, where is Neon Canvas here at the AAO?
Yeah, so we're at 1541. We're right here on this second main thoroughfare. It's tucked in between 3Shape and Tops, just across from the Embrace Brew. So you look up, you can't miss those. And there we are. So come see us. We'd love to meet you. Whether you're a current client, thanks for the great party last night. Everybody that came out, Neon Canvas clients, we love you. Kyle, thank you for what you do for orthodontists in the profession. Getting to be close to you, it's really great to see your passion for this profession and what you're doing for everybody. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
I'll see you back in Germantown.
Yeah.
I'll probably see you down there.
Yeah, you probably will.
Thank you to Alex Rasmussen.
Take care, everybody.
David Ross was on. So hello, David.
Oh, David, my favorite.
David was on. So let's bring on
buddy.
Dr. Maz Moshiri. Alex, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Maz.
Hey,
What's up, my friend?
nothing much, man. I'm excited to be here.
Sean K. Carlson is watching.
Hey, Sean.
He'll be on in about 40 minutes.
Yep.
All right, so I am joined here with Dr. Maz Moshiri. Maz is a great guy, one of the nicest people I've ever met,
Thanks, man.
and a true servant of our profession. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but I feel like you've given so much to our profession from the very day that the Facebook group started. I remember it was always you and Jonathan just pouring content in and pouring content in. It's great. So that's how I always think of you first, is when I was just getting into this game and doing my third and fourth Invisalign case, I was looking to you, I was looking to Jonathan, so thank you for that.
It's crazy where it all started, honestly.
Yeah, it is
Those
crazy.
groups, if you think back historically, just it all took off, and here we are today. So.
Absolutely. That's probably why we're both sitting here, is the Facebook groups, to be honest. I mean, at least you would have been here anyway. But so give me 30 seconds on where you started, where you went to school, and then where you are now.
So went to Universal Louisville for, notice how I have to eat marbles when I say that. That's the proper way to say it. And it's Kentucky Derby weekend too, so it's a big week there. But Louisville for dental school residency. And then I went to Emory before that in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
So I have a deep appreciation for the South. I kind of miss it, actually. I'm not sure if you consider Louisville South, but it had a southern feel to it in terms of the charm and so forth. And then came back to St. Louis, which is where I was born and raised, and teach at St. Louis University now, which I love. It's awesome there. Great school, great residency. So I have loyalties to both programs, to be honest with you. So.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into this question. This is and I already alluded to Jonathan Nicozisis, always hovering in our minds,
Always.
And in our hearts. But how did you guys decide to speak together? When was the first time you spoke together? And of course, that turned into the Aligner Fellowship, and I know you all have spoken together at in-office courses and things. But how did that start?
So this is going to be a circular conversation because the way that we got introduced to each other, obviously we're both faculty for Align, but we met through really the OE.
Okay.
So within the OE, we were, kind of contributing a lot on clear aligner stuff, and there was a meeting that we did for the OE that was Align sponsored, and that was the first time that we spoke together.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
And when we got up on stage together, we had a very special connection.
Yeah.
Where we were able to kind of razz each other a little bit, yet we were synergistic on some things, we were antagonistic on some things, which I thought brought value to what we were saying, and it just stemmed off from there. And then at that point, he and I just kept in touch. We had an idea to write a book for Invisalign, and it wasn't for Invisalign, meaning it was just on our own volition to do that. We met in St. Louis, we wrote all the chapters out, and we walked up to Invisalign and said, "Here's the book," and they said, "We don't want it."
Oh, wow.
And that's how the fellowship was spawned.
Wow, I didn't know that background.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I was actually going to ask that as a follow-up is, how has Align reacted to that course? Are they supportive? Is that a question I can ask you?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So, it's hard for them because some of our messaging may not be necessarily what they would like. So, the reps appreciate it because they see that doctors that do it have a higher clear aligner acumen. But I think in terms of them being able to adopt it and make it their own, it's a challenge for them because they have IP and things they need to protect, and what we say may not agree with that necessarily. Also at times with optimized attachments or things of that nature. Even though we do use them, we believe in them. We have to also remove them and change them at times and do what works for us, and what works for the patient at the end of the day is most important. So that's where I think we're at currently with them. So.
Okay, that's very well said.
Thanks.
You brought it up, so we'll jump to it. Conventional versus optimized attachments. So it's become sort of like a controversial topic, I guess. You seem to be on the side of conventional attachments. I've seemed to adopt that side of things. But there's obviously other parties that are very much on the side of optimized. I think if I'm aligned and I have a proprietary attachment, I think I'm going to naturally want to push for that.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know where the science is, where the experience would say what works, but what would you say of that kind of classic battle between those two?
So I think one has to adopt a marriage between the two things, because at the end of the day, you don't want to create too much work for yourself. So you're going to want to leverage what the system gives you, but you have to also know, is it going to work? Because you don't want to have to buy yourself 3 refinements because of the optimized attachment, not taking things into consideration that are important. The main thing being anchorage. Anchorage is where I think we get egg on our face a lot, is that if you look at the hierarchy of what the software gives you, anchorage is one on the bottom.
Right.
And if you don't level the curve of speed, you're going to have anti-interferences, you're going to have issues, you're not going to fix your AP. So I will often, if I am changing to conventional, it's in favor of anchorage, of retention. Not necessarily for movements, for rotation, root tip, things of that nature. Optimized attachments were great, but they fall short on anchors. For example, a G4 attachment for root tip on a lower first premolar, you're not getting any anchorage from that. So that's one of those things that I will change it for. Now I can change it for a G5, it works great, especially now that I can make it bigger, and I know there's been some controversy about that. Like, I asked for it, I didn't get it, it's coming. You're going to be able to make the optimized attachments eventually as large as possible. So they are listening, they're getting some feedback in terms of surface area, because when you push on something, it gives you more effective push surface, it's going to be more effective movement. It's happening. But it's not consistent yet, and I think that's where some of our colleagues find frustration or difficulty, because I might make the recommendation, like, look at these beautiful, huge G5 attachments, because I would prefer those, because a rectangular versus a G5, there's less occlusal interference on the G5 in terms of the opposing dentition.
Sure.
So it actually fits into the bite better, and you still get all the effective surface area in the gingival. So it's starting to modify. So to answer your question, because
you're good. This is great.
It has to be a marriage between the two things, meaning that sometimes conditions and thresholds aren't met where I get an attachment. So if I have an upper 7 that has a plunging cusp, and I'm leveling curve rules, so I may not get an attachment on that. Or they may give me like the new G7 rotation attachment. Well, that's not what I want. I want torque, I want bumper root torque, so I'll put a conventional on there. So conventional is for when I can't get the solution from the software, but if I had the solution from the software, I use it, because many times the surface area is exactly where I need it to be. It's perpendicular to the sum of the forces acting on the tooth. So rotation, not to get too clinical again.
It's great, this is awesome, this is what people want.
Rotation, if I have a distal in, all those optimized rotation attachments are an oblique. You have a surface area to push on to get the rotation, but you have a surface area to push down on to keep it in the aligner. Yep. So if I was to make my own attachment, I do a Jonathan Exhibition sash on that, but the optimized rotation has that already in it. So it has to be a marriage of both things. Do I use conventionals? Absolutely I do. Do I use optimized? I do. I find myself using them more now that I have more flexibility to tailor them.
Yep.
So it's, and that's what I want eventually, because I don't want to be a ClinCheck slave. So I'd like those processes to be more automated. It's getting there. So
yeah. So do you ever see a time where we won't need attachments?
No.
Never.
This is the problem, I think. The Smart Track material from Invisalign was actually initially dumbed down, because the problem with it is that it thermoformed too well. So when you're having to remove the aligner off of the 3D printed cast, you'd bend it, you'd deform it.
Right.
Because you literally couldn't get it off the model.
Right.
And so I don't see how I can get tooth movement unless I get a more thermoformed or like a tighter fitting aligner to not, because why do we need attachments? We need attachments to have an undercut on the tooth to push on, to keep that tooth moving in the direction you want. But all teeth in an aligner inherently feel an intrusive tendency. Right. So to get attachmentless, I almost think I need better thermoforming interproximally almost to really get a grip on that tooth, to prevent that tooth from intruding. But if you get better grip, you can't get the dang aligner off the model. So unless the properties, like the range, like it becomes like a Nai-Tai wire where you can like deform it and then like put it in a piece of hot water and it bounces back. Until the plastic gets like that, I think we're gonna have an issue going attachmentless. But could it happen in the future? Yeah, I mean, everything's possible. I've been just shocked over the past 10 years. Everything has changed and how fast things are going. So it's a matter of the material. Present day, I don't see that being the case unless the material property changes significantly.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like attachments. I'm all in on attachments. My team wishes I didn't listen to you. I had a case come back one time with attachments on every tooth, and I blamed it on you. I was like, this is what Dr. Moshiri said to do. I was expanding. I need the anchorage, and they were like, we don't like this guy. Just kidding. They watched the video though from the Aligner Fellowship of you filling the your lab girl, filling the templates. So it's good stuff.
Attachments are a love-hate.
Sure, of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the way it is. But
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful that we have the system as it is. If it improves in the future, that's fantastic. Let me ask you this, and I'm going off the cuff here, but what are some things you'd love to see in the next 2 to 5 years in terms of innovations? Like, what are the things you're like, this would make a huge difference for me?
So I really believe if I could hover over the optimized attachment and choose the one I want,
Okay.
would be very nice, because the less I can communicate with the tech, the easier I think it would be on me. Long term, less back and forth. I do want to start integrating more digital smile design into our practice. What I mean by that is we treat a lot of adult patients in my practice, a lot of like complex restorative cases, and with those cases, let's say you have a deep bite that has wear, you make that patient worse in the middle of treatment because you put everything back to level the gingival margins. Well, they have like this open bite now, and they really don't look so good. There's a gentleman named Christian Coachman. He's a Brazilian
Seen him
guy.
before, yeah.
So he's
incredible.
And Kenji Ojima's around the meeting
He
somewhere.
was just here, and his cases are unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So he's using that service, the digital smile design. So what they're doing is they're basically incorporating CBCT in the scan and Invisalign.
Wow.
So everything is merged together.
Yeah.
And you can see the patient smile in their mouth. You know then restoratively, it's like the Spears templates. Like, what do you need on the teeth? You can temporize that patient day one, scan them for Invisalign, and then that way during treatment they're looking better.
Wow.
And I think that is like kind of the next step. So having that integrated, and I think Invisalign is in talks with them, we're beta testing it to do that for restorative cases. I think is amazing. I think having the flexibility to optimize attachments, as I mentioned, would be sweet. So those are kind of the two things I'm maybe hoping for looking in the next couple of years.
I want preloaded templates. That's what I would like, so I don't have to fill the glue. That's what I want.
That would be.
It doesn't do
awesome.
anything for you, does it?
No,
it'd be great, right?
Yes,
so I kind of think 3M would be one that would make sense for.
Yeah.
It'd be great if everyone did it. I think that's a whole nother topic. Is all these new aligner systems. It was like 2 AAOs together. Everyone had a new aligner system, and 4 years ago it was everyone had a scanner. Each year kind of has its own feel. I think this is the year of the digital bracket setup or the lingual braces. There's a few new options for that. So let's jump into a couple, you say off-topic topics. They're not aligner-based. But you told me that you practice with your dad and your sister. I want to talk about that because there's obviously a lot of people out there who work with their family members. What's that experience been like? And you were telling me a little bit about your dad and how he came here. Share some of that with me if you don't mind.
So, I think it's important in our lives that we have mentors. And I'm very, very blessed that my mentor is my father, who's like my best friend, but also, pure of heart, meaning that the intentions are always to make me a better person. And I think some of us, we get out and we're kind of like on an island, especially some of my colleagues that may start from scratch or, are buying practices, but the doctor leaves. I still think trying to find a mentor is so important. Another one of my mentors, Dr. Taco Ruggio, got an award here at I'm the butcher. It's like the CBAO or whatever, the luncheon.
Yeah, Cadebo.
Yeah, Cadebo. Thank you.
Don't know what that means, but yes.
I think that's right. But he's a huge mentor for me too, and he's actually influenced hundreds, if not thousands, of orthodontists in this period of time. And I think that's important that we try to move forward, not only trying to find mentors in the beginning, but then becoming mentors for people. Because I think that's what keeps our profession going. We're always going to have challenges. We're always going to have threats. But having people to teach us the right way and to continue to persevere, that have gone through their own challenges historically. If you just go out on your own, I think you're going to go for the path of least resistance, and sometimes that's not the best path to take.
Yeah.
So I think it's huge to have mentors in your life, and I would not be anywhere close to where I am today if it wasn't for my father and other people like Dr. Ruggio, Dr. Behrens, and Slew. I have some really great people that have been in my corner to help me. So it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, right on. So for me, as someone who did start from scratch, the first 6 months of having a practice, there were no Facebook groups. I had very little mentorship. I had the the part-timers at the orthodontic residency, and many of those were super helpful to me. I mean, I looked at blueprints, at least 30 variations on my initial blueprint with those doctors. They're very kind to continue to help me and basically be like, all right, you've got it. Stop messing with it. But there was a time there where you're just kind of going on your own, and so you would go to a meeting and get an idea or something. But then Orthodontic Exchange, which you alluded to earlier, I got into that. It was just mind-blowing.
Couldn't get enough.
Yeah, it was crazy. And those first maybe 9 to 12 months were really unparalleled. People were sharing completely openly. It was the first time it had happened. There was one group, and I really missed that.
I do too.
But for me, that was where the mentorship really began, and that's where I met people like you and Anil Kravitz and Anil Adikula and Cole Johnson. a lot of these people that I consider really close friends and that inspire me. And so I was in Neil's lecture yesterday and seeing Neil being very open about how he'd built his practice to this sort of unsustainable point and how he's intentionally kind of brought it back down to earth so that he can achieve the results he thinks that patients deserve. To me, that's hugely inspirational, and it wouldn't have been possible without some of these groups for me to even know him and want to be listening to him. And so it's huge. And so if you're out there and you don't have mentors, what I have found is that people like Maz or people like Neil, they're very open and willing to share. It's just a matter of being humble enough to ask for their help.
Absolutely.
And so if I can ever help, send me a message. I've had a lot of people catch me and be like, thank you for responding to my message, and I don't really remember it because if you're a speaker or you do these sort of things, you get lots of messages.
PM'd every day.
Yeah, every day there's something you're being asked. You probably get asked more than I do, and I'm always willing and happy to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Unless I'm with my kids, okay? Give me 5 minutes. So I want to ask this.
Your daughter is gorgeous. By
Oh,
the
thank
way.
you.
Holy
Yeah, my
cow.
daughter. Do you want to bring her on?
Oh
Just come,
man,
come-
please do. She's like an angel.
Just come bring her like right here as we
kid.
talk about the next one.
telling you.
Yeah, so I said this I think yesterday. I was lucky enough to marry into a gene pool that's better than mine. So
Me too,
it's
brother. I
helped
hear
me.
ya.
I think she maybe got 6% of me.
This baby is so adorable. Look
There
at this
she
kid.
is. Look at her. Well, as we're bringing the baby into this the shot, this is Lucy.
This is huge. Yeah, this is
Let's
important.
see. This
Guys,
is like
look
that
at-
scene from Lion King.
Look at this face. Look at this face. And she's so happy all the time, too. She's been smiling the whole time. Look at her.
She's not going to now.
This kid is a... Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
You guys, that is an angel.
That's all the baby we can have. If we have a puppy dog, can we bring the puppy dog
Yeah,
on next?
exactly.
We have a Chris Feldman, though, with the crawdad shirt. I love it. Crawfish, my bad. That's crawfish, apparently. Let's get back to Maz. This is great. A lot of interaction here. I want to know about clear aligners. What are 3 things you feel like doctors misunderstand about plastic? And that may be a very rudimentary question for you, but
Sure.
what are the 3 most common things, maybe when you're getting PM'd? What is it?
So, I think the main issue for a lot of people is still occlusal finishing issues. So, posterior open bites. So the main thing with that, I kind of alluded to earlier, I think, is making sure that you're paying attention to anchorage first above anything else. Sometimes we get focused on individual tooth movement, and if we get wrapped up in that, you may miss the big picture.
Okay.
So setting your cases up to level the curve of Wilson, level the curve of SPE specifically, paying attention to bolt discrepancies, paying attention to elastics when you need them, trying to avoid interferences, because that's what really gets you into refinements. Let's say you have a posterior open bite. This is number 2.
Yep.
When you get a posterior open bite, don't let the technician to extrude the teeth together, because that's generally their default, is that they try to then close the posterior open bite by bringing the teeth together, because posterior extrusion is actually a challenging movement. And it's not really fixing the etiology of why the posterior open bite existed, which is usually interference. So the verbiage I give, the specific verbiage every single time, for the most part, I think 99% of the time, is please eliminate all initial interferences, be it posterior or anterior. So please eliminate all initial interferences and show me a bite jump for arch coordination to bring the teeth together. So please eliminate all initial interferences. It could be anterior, posterior. Again, I tell them which one it is, and then show me a bite jump for arch coordination.
Okay.
And in that way, they'll either level the curve of SPE more, they'll lift the palatal cusp up, whatever it is, and then so it like creates like this full all the way through open bite that just then comes together. And then I either need to guide that with class 3 or class 2 elastics, midline elastic, whatever the case is, but all you're trying to do is just continue to level the arches, because that usually is what the cause of interference is.
Okay.
So number 3,
That's great. That was gold, because I allow that extrusive movement. It's always, it's 5 to 8 or whatever, 5 to 7, and I always allow that movement. And I do try and intrude the palatal cusp, but I'm probably overdoing that movement, which is probably incorporating side effects and not really helping.
Sure.
I mean, whatever. So, all right,
we will learn on the fly, man. I mean, it's like, so you make a mistake, you see it happen, and you learn from it, and you change it. So I've had egg on my face too many times from just trying to use clear liners. So you're just going to learn eventually what happens. But
number 3.
Number 3, I would say. I had it in my mind. Where'd it go?
I threw it off, didn't I?
No. We talked about attachments. We talked about finishing.
Open bite.
Open bites. What the heck was the third one? No. It's going to come to me. Hold on. I'll come back. Oh, systems. Okay,
Yeah.
so clear aligners, obviously, if you're using a system like Invisalign, or if you even started outsourcing using other things, they're still more expensive than braces. Obviously the lab fee. So for it to make sense for you, even if you're not at capacity, I don't think that matters. The whole capacity argument, I think, is a little bit overdone. You want to use it to leverage the efficiency of it. So make sure that you have it set up as such. Like for example, IPR, we have it in our office at every 12th aligner, because I want to give the patient 12 trays and not worry about it, or I want to give them, 24 trays and not worry about it. So just leverage the efficiencies of it.
Yep.
Try to really aim for getting to one refinement if you can. Refinements are not that problem. It's when our colleagues and peers are having 2 or 3, which I get because I went through all that, but that's not necessary. Meaning that really, really, really focus when you have a refinement. Go back and look at what caused it. It's not the presence of the aligner 99% of the time. It's something that happened that you have to continually learn, because we never even got this formal education in residency, and it's just really doing it day by day in practice. Don't let that ruin your efficiency. Don't get disenchanted with it, because I think if we're going to really own our profession, we have to be specialists in braces and plastic and lingual, whatever. Become a specialist in plastic. Don't get frustrated with it. It's a very efficient appliance to have, but there's a tall learning curve, and we can do it. We can, of course. I mean, we're all at the top of what we were doing in school, so there's no excuse. It's a matter of the willingness, I think, at that point.
Sure.
And some people, they face the reality because they're forced to. Others, they want to. But what I mean by forced to is that they feel the competition, they start to acquiesce. You don't want to be in that spot. We all need to do this. This is our job as a specialist. I don't care what system you use. If you do it in-house, people are going to continue to ask for it. They're never going to stop asking for it. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, awesome. That was it. That's Maz Moshiri, everybody. We are going to, first, I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
The Aligner Fellowship, I've taken that course. It's fantastic. I feel like everyone should do it. It should be in every program, in my opinion. When is the next course? Because one's already started, right?
April 29th was the most recent start date.
Yep.
The next one is September 2nd. So it repeats 3 times a year.
Okay, so September, look for that Aligner Fellowship if you don't know about that. And if you don't know about that, then what are you doing in a Facebook group? Because you've probably seen the promotions for it. But let's clap it up for Dr. Moshiri real quick.
Woo! Thank you, guys. Nice.
And we're going to bring the second half of the Maz and Kaz show, of course.
The more important part here.
Not
Here we
the
go.
more important part. Are you kidding?
More hair and taller.
Yeah,
It's always a good
well,
thing.
that's true. Okay. Yeah, age before beauty. Yes.
Here we go.
All right, here's the mic. So we're going to bring on Dr. Jeff Kozlowski. He is looking very, very dapper today. Is this a burgundy or what is this, a plum?
They say it's cranberry, but
Cranberry,
what do I know?
okay.
I'm colorblind. Oh, where does this go? Oh, it just
Are you
goes
really
there.
colorblind?
Red, green. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, and I got my big.
So what
knees
color
here.
does my skin look like? How pale is it if you're colorblind?
It is. It's ginger.
Translucent?
I think we got the ginger
Wait, are
duo
you
going
ginger?
again. I am. My kids
heck yeah.
argue and say it's not. Maybe because of all the gray, but
We're getting the ratio back. It's been a while since I've had a
I
redhead.
saw the one with Chris Benson.
Yeah. Well, then I had Heather Hopkins for St. Patrick's Day. She's
Yeah.
a redhead. I think there's someone else I had that had red hair, but I always feel most comfortable around people with red hair.
That's
so.
why I just go a couple days without shaving because there's enough gray in there. So my team
Kozlowski,
calls it
though.
salt and paprika.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's
good. So Kozlowski's got to be like Polish or something?
It is, yeah. I'm
Okay.
actually a quarter Polish, a quarter English, a quarter French, an eighth Swiss, and an eighth German, if you must ask.
Wow.
And speak none of them.
Yeah?
No.
Did you get like one of those DNA tests or something? Is that
We
right?
haven't done it yet, but my
You haven't?
grandmother was,
Okay.
before it was all digital, actually traced our English back to 1066 AD in
Wow.
England. So,
Wow, 1066.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about all the history from around then.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I actually saw, and this is totally off topic, and we have so many other important things to talk about, but I actually saw a story where a guy did one of those DNA tests, right?
Yeah.
And did the swab, and I've done it myself. And they actually found him through the FBI database, and he had murdered someone.
Nice.
So if you
So
murder
maybe-
someone, don't do one of the ancestry.
Don't do 23andMe.
Don't do
No,
the
yeah.
23andMe. Maybe just stay off of that. It's okay that you won't know that you're 51% from the Balkans or something. All right, so give me real quick, 30-second intro. Anyone who doesn't know Jeff Kozlowski, where are you from? Where'd you go to school?
I grew up in southeastern Connecticut, went to Syracuse University, SUNY Buffalo for dental and ortho, moved back to Connecticut, practiced in a group practice for about 9 years, and then 11 and a half years ago opened my own practice. So that totals 21 years since I've been out of school. And we now have 3 locations, and we brought on an associate doc about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And I've got a wife, Amy, who is trying to watch, but we need to get her
she's
on
not in the group?
She's not in the group. That's okay.
Sorry,
I told
Amy.
her I texted her. I told her she could watch it
I'm going
later.
to get her in right after, and she'll be watching
Yeah.
this like
and
in 2 hours.
2 kids. Our daughter is, thanks to Jamie Reynolds, our daughter is heading off to become a Wolverine next year
Okay.
in college. She got into Syracuse and even got a scholarship, but chose not to go to my alma mater and go to, she would have been 3rd generation because my mom went to Syracuse. But we're super happy for her to study neuroscience at Michigan, and then we have a freshman in high school son.
Neuroscience at Michigan.
Yeah.
How much prouder could you be? That's amazing.
I'm super proud.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Your daughter shouldn't take offense to this. Neuroscience. That would not be. I could not do that.
It's the Grey's Anatomy effect. Okay.
Okay.
She kind of likes dentistry. She says, "No offense, mom and dad. I think being an orthopedic surgeon or like working on brains is a little cooler than working on teeth." But who am I to argue?
That might be true. I don't know. That might be true. There's Sean Carlson. How are you, buddy? So let's jump in. I think the thing you're probably best known for, and I think deservedly so, is treatment efficiency.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you would agree that our profession does need to improve in these ways, and we've kind of been met with challenges at different points in time, with 6 Month Smiles I think maybe being one of the first ones, and even in a company like Fast Braces or something like that. They're bringing to the table this idea of orthodontists take too long, and now of course we see this with direct-to-consumer products that say we're 3 times faster than braces. What do we got to do to be better at that, and how do we get there?
I think the first thing we need to do is know what we're actually doing right now. Is that your daughter?
It's Lucy. Yeah, thank you
Hey,
very
Lucy.
much. Yeah.
I think we need to be, first of all, be aware of what we're doing. And this is one of the challenges is orthodontists traditionally were trained to be perfectionists. I think the perfectionist mindset comes into the profession, so it's self-selecting, and then we're trained in our residencies to be perfectionists. And I remember what, look at that, thank you very
look at that.
much.
Thank
I
you.
needed a little
Product placement.
Yeah,
We're actually bringing that up later, so this will be perfect. Thank you for only getting one of those, you know? Yeah.
Yes, please, thank you.
Kidding?
It's my Ortho 5 beer for the Facebook Live group.
All 6 ounces of
So
beer.
I think the first thing is to be aware of what we're doing. The mindset as an orthodontist was that we needed to finish with a certain kind of perfection. And I was fortunate to see Bob Smith lecture early in my career. And one of the things that stuck with me from the early going is he said, the time when you should finish treatment is the time of intersection of happiness between the orthodontist and the patient. And often we're working you want the case to be even better, and you're working on marginal 2, 3, 4%, literally like marginal ridges, and the patient is burned out and long past the point of when they were happy. And whenever you say that, the problem is people say, well, that's just because you're advocating doing below average treatment, and I'm not saying that. I think sometimes in the quest for 100% on the orthodontic side, we lose the support of our patients, the support of the parents, the hygiene, and then treatment drags on. So the first thing I would say is doctors should know what they're doing and actually know what they're doing for length of treatment and number of appointments, because that's the second part of it. One, aligner companies say, well, we're 50% faster than braces, and my argument would be that's because we're all taking too long. The numbers that Gage has put out is and I want everyone to think about this. The average orthodontist estimates 24 months for treatment. But what they actually do is they say your treatment will be 18 to 24 months. So if you're the patient, what do you hear?
18.
And if you're the orthodontist, how long do you have to finish?
Like 30 months.
24, but the actual treatment time is 27.
Yeah, wow.
So on average, across all of the practices on Gage, we're 9 months behind what patients hear us, which I think sets it up for other companies to be successful, because we continually don't live up to our promises. So that's my first goal. And I think just the number of appointments it takes us to get done, contrary to what we think, being the ego people that we may have been to get to where we are, people don't really want to see us that many times. When you have kids in school and spouses that work, and it's a lot of moms that bring kids to practice, they would rather come into your office 5 times than 30 times.
Absolutely.
As personable as we both make.
Yeah, as great as we both are, and maybe that doesn't apply to you and I.
No.
To you and me, rather.
No,
but,
they like seeing us redheads.
They like the redheads, but to someone like Christopher Feldman, they're like, you know what, man, I just want to see like 2 times,
3
max.
times. Who dat?
2 times max. Who dat?
Maybe one.
No, actually, Chris is probably like the one person, literally. Like, it's probably not, but Chris, we want to see you.
Chris Feldman's sitting right there.
Chris Feldman is sitting right
in
there.
case you're wondering, we're not talking to the
imaginary. So, like Clint Eastwood on the stage of the Republican.
But I want to give a shout out because, so in all of the lectures that I've done on this, and I ask people, do you track how many appointments and how many months? Like in hundreds of people in there, 2 people raised their hand.
Yep.
And in 7 years of doing this, it hasn't increased. And one guy who saw us at one point, he's kept me up to date. Feldman is a guy who said, I thought I was here, I wasn't, I needed to get better, and my team and I, we laid it down and we reduced by 1 or 2, and then by 1 or 2, and then by 1 or 2. And can I say what you just said to me? Sure. Yeah, he said, I'm down to, I looked at my 2018 numbers, 3.1 days per week seeing patients, and he grew from 5 days, went from 5 days a week to 3.1 days a week, with the only focus being minimizing the amount of time people have to come to the office.
That's great. Way to
By
go.
the way, the number one improvement I've ever heard.
Way to go. It's good that you were sitting there. You got a major shout out.
That's the whole point, is that to grow your practice and add on another practice and cut days, and people are happier and you're happier and the team is happier.
Huge
It's a win.
So give me very quickly a couple things, maybe 3 things that we can do, all of us, to improve clinical efficiency.
The number one thing I would say is train your team. And Lance Miller helped me bring this up, because I wasn't even aware of it when he came to the office, because we're not that far away.
Yeah.
We got done with the day and we did a little debriefing, and he goes, what I noticed is, he said, your assistants sound more like orthodontists than I did when I graduated my residency. You're sitting down at the chair and they say, we're 8 out of 18 months into treatment, we're in TMAs, and I'm looking at the lower right lateral, it needs like 3 degrees of mesorotation, and the upper central could use 2 degrees of palatal root torque. And he said, wow. And how long have you been an orthodontic assistant? And my assistant goes, like 2 years.
Wow.
And
cool.
And so I think the more we can train our clinical team in particular to help us be another set of eyes like mini orthodontists, it takes a lot of pressure off us to have to make that many decisions, because they know as much about what straight teeth should look like as we do.
Yep.
So
I actually got that from the Elevate Orthodontics podcast interview you did. It's really a total paradigm shift in my mind of training people not to be an assistant, training them to be an orthodontist.
Yes.
I mean, really, that's the huge change, and that would probably make all the difference. You got to have people working for you, but not just like doing the bare minimum. Right. Not even have assistants in residency. I think that's the problem with all this, is that you're patterned after what you've seen.
Yep.
And so I've seen no assistants, took all my impressions, poured up all my models, made all my Holly retainers, to now you need people to do more for you, and it's better for your patients if they can.
Yep.
So that's great.
So you said 3 things, but I think that would be the number one thing I would do.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about this one. You're a certified Damon instructor. I always ask this of Damon doctors, because there's no surprise here that some of the best clinicians that I know use Damon. You, Derek Bach, Dwight Damon's cases are incredible. Stu Frost, of course. Several others, of course. How much of a role does that play? And you can give me the history of you and Damon, but if you didn't have PSL, and I'm just a twin bracket user.
It's not just anything, by the way.
Sure.
It is my joke. It's like when we talk about bracket systems, it's like Christmas Eve dinner with my Italian mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
You've got religion and politics, and they're both hot topics. And the third one I would add to that is, what system do you use? And it divides orthodontists, and it shouldn't.
Well, it doesn't divide me.
Okay, it doesn't divide me either.
But what percentage would you say in your result is because of that? If that's
I think, so you asked for the history. I saw Dwight Damon speak in New York City in sometime the end of 2000, and then I switched pretty much unanimously to PSL in 2001. So it's going on 18 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And what the analogy I have for it is this: I've had people say, like, the bracket is just a bracket. It's just a bracket. It's like a handle on a tooth, and I get it to an extent. But the analogy I've used is, it's kind of like you say, well, running is running is running. So if you know how to run, Usain Bolt, right, the fastest man in the world. But what happened if you took a guy like Usain Bolt and put him on ice and said run? The techniques that he used to sprint on the track with spikes, with blocks, probably an overweight, middle-aged Canadian former hockey player that knows how to run on ice could probably beat him in a 50-yard dash, because he's got to figure
Warren
out.
Cohen, is that your deal?
So it's Warren here. Yeah, Warren. Okay,
sorry,
that's a good one.
Sorry, Warren. Yeah.
I was thinking of a couple Canadian guys that I know that could have fit that bill, but Warren running on ice in sneakers could beat Usain Bolt in a 40-yard dash because of the understanding of the principles of force and friction. What does that have to do with braces? Well, it's different, and so we use it differently. And I find that the techniques that I've developed with that, and a number of the Damon users, and they may or may not be transferable to twins. I don't know because I haven't used twin brackets in so long. But here's what I want. Like, for me, I don't care who uses what. Just be really good at it.
Yeah.
Okay? And take good care of your patients, reduce the amount of time people are in braces, reduce the number of appointments, and help our profession not go the way of direct to consumer because we're comparing it. As an aside, like, and I hope I don't. Stop using bands. Like, technology has grown. Half of orthodontists in the U.S. use bands on the posterior teeth.
So I don't. So you're not a fan.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
And if I did, it would be fine. But
it'd
no,
be fine.
I agree with you.
Like, just bond all the teeth. It doesn't actually increase the amount of failures.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things we could do to be more effective, whether it's passive self-ligation or not. It's just learning from those experts in the area of practice discipline that you choose to use. And we got Feldman. Come on in.
I'm just gonna get him on while I did not want to interrupt.
That's good.
He's
Please
standing
do.
here. So
Put me in here next to you.
you got to move in a little bit.
Who dat?
Hey, it's Chris Feldman, the efficiency whiz.
No, he's
doing great.
I'm like the.
You're the efficiency
Fledgling.
Padawan.
Kid. Yeah, that's good. So I'd leave it at that. But I think look, if you're a good orthodontist, my chairman used to say you could straighten teeth with bubble gum and
paper
clips like MacGyver. But anyway.
Yeah, right on.
Chris Feldman's Chris Feldman is watching.
I know, it's so weird.
He's standing right there.
It knows that. That's Facebook technology, right? Give me that back. I was just letting you have a sip.
It recognized that he was on
hair of the dog for you. I want to talk about this OrthoFi, which you brought me this delicious beverage, tasty beverage. You were involved in the genesis of that company. To be very honest, I don't know exactly, was it you and Jamie that started that or how that went, but what's up with OrthoFi now? How are you involved? What's the next step for OrthoFi?
Well, thank you for talking about it.
Yeah, of course.
So Jamie and I, when we were lecturing on sort of treatments that were taking less time, the number one question we always got was, that's great, but how do patients pay for it? Because of the traditional model of X amount down and X over treatment time, right? If you start with that. So if your treatment time is 14 months and a patient has to pay for orthodontics over 14 months, it becomes cost prohibitive to a lot of people.
Sure.
So we said, Aaron Boland, there you go.
Aaron, what's up, man? He gets skinnier every time I see him.
Good.
What is going on with that guy?
That's what the clean life will do to you, right?
Apparently.
So we saw it as a white space or a problem, so we called friends of ours, mostly Jamie's friends who were Michigan MBAs and Dartmouth MBAs, and said, like, this is a business problem we have, not a straightening teeth problem.
Right.
What do we do? So we started a company. So Jamie and myself and our CEO, Dave Turner, co-founded the company, and we brought on a lot of smart business people to help us figure out how to do it. Fast forward to now, where we are now, there's a lot of things that we've wanted to do. In any company, there's things you want to do in your business. You just got to find the resources, usually financial and or time, to be able to do it. So we brought on an equity partner just this week, actually. And one of the questions we've gotten is, oh, great, you sold the company. And the answer is no. Jamie Reynolds is still the chairman of the board. I'm still a board advisor. We've retained not a majority stake in the company, but a large stake in the company because it's our baby and we're passionate about it. The truth is we wanted to continue to help shape the orthodontic profession in a way that allows orthodontic consumers to get quality treatment from quality orthodontists in a way that they can afford as another way to help stem the tide of lower cost direct-to-consumer market. So so we're still heavily involved and we still want to see it grow, and what we actually now have is more resources to do the things we've been wanting to do for the last 3 years.
Yeah, right on. I will say this of OrthoFi, it's one of those ideas that comes around maybe every 10 years that, and it was sort of the culmination of probably other discussions that people have had, or it's the solution to a problem that people have discussed for a little while, and maybe a product of the clinical efficiency that you had spoken on and others had spoken on, but you see a lot of copycats. I mean, when an idea is a good idea is when you see a lot of ones, Me Too's.
And I think, what helped was when we started the company, it wasn't just Jamie and I, right? So I know we get a fair amount of the credit for it, but we brought on a lot of really smart people like John Graham and Stu Frost and Dave Paquette and Cy Elizade and Jeff Pascal, and it kept going on from there, and Doug Depew, people that we know have been good for the profession and bring a lot of knowledge and insight and passion to help us continue to build it out. So they are all continuing to be involved. Cool. And if I left anybody's name out, I'm sorry. It's just,
Jeremy Smith, I think, is involved or something.
Jeremy Smith and Jesse Gray. And,
Jesse.
I mean, the list goes on. That was the
what
goal for us.
Crew there.
Well, that was kind of the goal for us, which I think probably leads into your next thing.
Yeah, the next thing. So speaking of Jamie Reynolds, you told me that you had something.
He's lecturing at OrthoFi right now.
You had something to announce that you wanted to talk about orthodontic partners, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So Jamie and I, we've worked together obviously with the OrthoFi business for 6 years. So we've got, and he convinced my daughter to go to Michigan, thanks Jamie, but that's okay. I'm really happy for her. It's another reason for us to come out and visit. But we realized a couple of things. One, there was pressure on consolidation in the field of orthodontics. There was a lot of questions about it, a lot of concerns, a lot of misunderstanding, fear, whatever else. But the truth is that there's consolidation coming in the field of orthodontics. Now, what Jamie and I, when we started OrthoFi, wanted to do is we wanted to have some say in the conversation. So we decided, we've realized that our practices have, how are we on time here?
We have 0 minutes left, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
I'll have 2 minutes. So we realized that his practice and my practice have co-shared team in that they go back and forth, they visit, they communicate.
Wow.
His practice is great on the front end, the marketing and the conversion. And my practice is great on the back end, which is the treatment throughput, right? Getting patients from into treatment to effectively out of treatment. And so we had already talked about platforming our two practices so that they would become, like throw our teams in a room and say, what are the best practices, and come out and we're going to all do it that way. And I think there's a lot of offices out there that are like ours, and maybe where yours is getting to, where your practice is, you're not thinking about retirement, you want to practice for 5 to 20 more years, but your practice is big enough, maybe you're not able to make it effective enough in terms of your efficiency. Some of the people we've talked to are now they're working 5 days a week, and do I bring on an associate? It's just so much, all the team and all the growth, and or I'm struggling with my marketing. There are a lot of people out there that I think could help develop a platform where we combine best practices. And so kind of from where we started the OrthoFi group, which was to bring a lot of really smart people together, we've partnered with an equity partner to help us with resources, both financial and operations, marketing, technology, HR, to build a platform that would allow other practices that, and we're not looking for orthodontists that are like ready to retire and sunset. That's not the goal here. We're looking for orthodontists that are good at what they're doing, that have good practices, that have some things they could sharpen up, and or some responsibilities they may want to offload, depending on the point in their career. Maybe it's Cole Johnson, who's got 8 kids and is too busy to do all the stuff and would like to spend more time with his 8 kids. I don't know what the answer is.
He actually had his 9th kid last weekend. That's not true.
No, okay. All right.
It'll be next weekend.
We'll see it on Facebook, I'm sure.
It'll be
but
lovely.
To the point, we wanted to bring together a group of practices that could come together in one platform that would be able to keep the name on the company. So instead of changing the name, even though Jamie and I are both Damon guys, we wanted orthodontists that are well trained in the clinical mechanics that they do to continue on the mechanics that they've used to properly treat their patients. And we wanted to create a platform where, for the third part that's missing here, is the residents coming out of school, there's an upward mobility. So it's not I become a corporate orthodontist for the rest of my life. I may start treating patients in one location, but then I may manage multiple locations, and I may be able to become a partner, and I may be able to become an owner of the bigger operation. I may be able to become a clinical instructor or an educator, and kind of create an upward path of mobility for docs coming out of school.
Yeah, so big conversation. We don't have time to unpack it all.
No, we'll do it another
I appreciate
time.
you for kind of opening it up. We need an hour, you and I.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm happy to do it anytime. You want to come visit the practice?
I would love to. I need to go. I know
just
that
come on up
talking
and
to
we'll
Chris, you visited, right?
Yeah,
He
he brought like 7 of your team, 6 of your team up, 4. I don't know.
Well,
they
I'd love to
multiply
do-
when they were there.
Yeah, and Connecticut is gorgeous.
In the summer, not in the winter.
Well, I was there like November, and it was still pretty, but I'm sure it's.
Oh yeah,
much
we were
pretty.
there for NISO
We were there for NISO.
together,
It was great.
right?
My first time in New England. I drove around all the states. It was great. Gorgeous
My
area.
wife said, "Who are you doing the interview with?" I said, "Remember the guy that I was sitting next to?" And you said, he's a younger, handsomer version of you.
Oh, I don't know about handsome.
And she was there, yeah. And I said, that's Kyle. Yeah.
I'm a younger version of you with less facial hair and bigger cheeks.
Bigger cheeks, and your hair is still redder. My kids argue that my hair is brown now.
So it doesn't. I see the red actually off the light. It looks great. So we're going to clap it up for Dr. Kozlowski. That ends the Koz and Maz hour.
I appreciate everything you're doing.
I appreciate you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Who's up next?
This is great, by the way.
That's good. Would you like another one? Or you might not get through the Sean.
Yeah, I might not get through the show, and it's
and
going to be tough enough with Sean as it is.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Talk about a super smart guy.
Sean Carlson.
Sean, I know you sent me an email, but
why don't you come over and show your face? Come on, show your face.
Am I going to see you? Come around this way. Yeah, I'm around.
Come around this way. We're just going to have you smile.
Oh, that's right. I almost walked away with a mic.
Yeah, we are live. Anila, get in here. There he is.
Oh, wait, I promised my wife she would see both of us in the same screen.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Hi, Amy. We love you.
This is your time to take a screen capture right there.
We'll see you. We'll see you later. All right, sweet.
So we're a little over on time. That's my fault.
No, that's my fault. That's the way I roll.
No, it was actually before you even got on here. It is Maz Moshiri. You write a letter to Maz Moshiri. It's his fault.
So can we just change it to the Koz and Maz show then?
It's the Koz and Maz show now. Yes, you get top billing.
Koz stole all the time.
Thank you, Jeff.
And I actually thought I was going to be late
you were great.
Well, no, I was back at my hotel, like watching Maz, and I'm like, oh, there's no way.
He's
I'm
hypnotic,
get
isn't he? He's hypnotic.
Oh yeah, it was great.
So I have written this down so I don't say it incorrectly. I accused you of looking like Dennis Miller, but it's not just Dennis Miller. You look like a combination of Dennis Miller and Carrie Elwes.
Who's that?
He plays Wesley in The Princess Bride. Have you ever been told that?
Oh, so I
need to do a composite.
I'm not a Princess Bride aficionado.
You've never seen it?
No,
right.
I think I've seen it once.
We'll put it up later. He was also in Saw. Did you ever see Saw?
No.
Okay. All right.
But the Dennis Miller is smack on.
Okay.
And what I loved about the show that you were doing with Cole, when you showed that, he got it
immediately.
Instantly. So I'm not offended.
Yeah, the beauty of that was
a handsome guy, right?
Who? Dennis Miller?
Dennis Miller.
Yeah, he's
and Cole.
Both guys. Yes, all three of those men are beautiful men. All right, so sorry we lost all our reviews right there as we're talking about esoteric celebrities. I love Dennis Miller. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If anyone's busier than I am at this year's AAO, it's probably Sean K.
Hardly.
Carlson. But tell me your background. Anyone who doesn't know, where'd you go to school, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so born and raised in California, college in Southern California, Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Made the crazy decision to go back east for dental school.
Okay.
Went to Harvard in '89 and had no idea what a winter was going to be like on the East Coast. Oh my God!
Yes, we are live right now, Aaron Mullen.
Aaron, geez.
This is how technology works, Aaron.
We're gonna talk later. All right. So I got back to Boston winters, and it was admittedly
not your vibe.
It was painful because dental school on its own is painful enough, but the winters were bad. Of
course.
Came back. I knew I wanted to come back to the West Coast, so I did my residency training at UC San Francisco.
Okay.
Got really deep into clinical research in '93, '94. Did a whole year fellowship under a guy named Dr. Sheldon Baumrin, who was my mentor.
Yeah.
On cephalometrics, a lot of cephalometrics, and spent most of my residency doing clinical research around cephalometrics. And finished residency, went deep into private practice with a great practitioner whose practice I took over, a guy by the name of Dr. Earl Johnson, great clinician, and spent half my time in academics. So I was kind of foot in both areas, and then just rode technology to where we are now, which is pretty mind-blowing for me that we have not just the 3D stuff that I'm into, but the fact that you're doing this right now.
That's kind of cool.
I was just talking to Anil, and we were, like, I was telling him when I started coming to AAOs, we didn't have phones. You didn't have cell phones.
No, yeah.
So imagine like meeting
How'd you meet
friend.
up? Yeah.
How did you just hoped you ran into some guys?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's so different. Well, I mean, I started orthodontics not that long ago, maybe 8-9 years ago, I guess, as a resident. There were no digital scanners. Cone beam was like very new. I mean, so it's even changed as it is today. Now you see like, all these digital planned braces and lingual systems.
It's crazy. So when did you finish?
I finished in 2013.
Okay.
So I started in 2010, Chicago AAO. I still remember. Chicago played.
Okay.
It's great. It was cool.
So I couldn't even in my time, I couldn't even imagine a 3D X-ray.
Sure, yeah.
Like at least you had seen, they can do that.
I had
now.
some conception. I actually did my thesis on CBCT and airway measurements, and so some things that we'll talk about here in a second.
Good. Please.
I want to jump in though with probably the most relevant question, and it was a controversy, and I want to give you the opportunity to sort of speak to this. I have a couple tough questions for you.
I love tough questions.
You're going to do great. So the OrthoScience thing, you caught a lot of heat for scheduling events off-site during the speakers. Because of that, to be very fair, I did this during lunch because there's nobody speaking right now.
Totally.
Even though the exhibit hall kind of gets a pass,
Yeah.
because they do speakers all during the
For
day.
sure.
But I just want to make sure that I was being kosher, okay? But just be honest, I want to give you a chance to clear that up. Like, what was the,
Unbelievable misunderstanding. So, here, and I was just talking to Anil about this, and the challenge is, I'm an orthodontist, and everybody that was getting together for the things around OrthoScience were orthodontists. So even that panel that we had, Neil, Cole, and Anil, like great guys, like super stand-up guys, and everybody that was coming, just all orthodontists. We wanted to hang out and talk about ortho. I didn't know there were exhibit hall rules. I'm not an exhibitor, so nobody gave me a sheet that said you can't do this.
There's a lot of rules.
You know them now. I know them because somebody called me and said, "Hey, did you know there's rules?" And I didn't know there were
Pretty
rules.
wild.
But
when money's
anyway,
involved, things get complicated. Go ahead. Yes.
But it is. But like mad respect, we have such a good relationship with the AAO, our company, our team.
Yeah.
And so
President's on your board, right?
Yeah. He's a really good guy, and even the executive team there has been really supportive. And what happened is, I think it just everybody that's following the rules, it just appeared we were not. And so I think it ruffled enough feathers that it got back to the AAO execs. And so we got a call from them, and I'm like, what rules? And they said, didn't you get the exhibitor? And I'm not an exhibitor.
Yeah.
So anyway, we cleared it up, and just out of just mad respect, we pulled the event. But, again, our intention was simply noble, and that we just wanted to get some orthodontists together. So, but now I know there's a lot of official things. So,
well, I get it. I kind of get why people were upset. At the same time, I was signed up. I wanted to go and listen. I was like, it's kind of bummed it's canceled. I would say this is the AAO. There is enough space for a lot of stuff to go on, and so I think, to your credit, I think the right thing to do was, hey, we'll cancel it.
We just be polite. That's the bottom line. We got to be polite. But
so next year I'll have a booth, right?
We're such a young company.
Yeah, sure.
We're trying to put all this together.
So the first year of Neon Canvas, we met in a hotel room to have like a little presentation because we'd started in April, and then AAO was in May. I was like, well, we get a hotel room. I guess technically that might have been against the rules. No, to get a booth, you got to be 9 months in advance.
It's a year. A lot of these things
are very pricey. Like sitting where we are right now, this is like $100 a minute or something. So
is it?
It's so worth it.
Is it really that?
No, not that much. But it's expensive.
But again, I was like I said, I was just talking to Anil, and the tricky thing is this is like herding cats. So putting like social media, phones, instant contact, all that stuff has changed the whole environment of captive audience. It's going to be in the future, whether it is now or not, it's going to be about content. Content wins, and for me, if it's not somewhere, I'm going to go where the content is attractive, and that's, I think you got a lot of people watching your little cast here, and you're going to have so many that go and watch it at home, and maybe they didn't go to the lecture, or they're just catching up with whatever's interesting to them. There's enough room for everybody.
I think what I've noticed is there are plenty of orthodontists that come here and don't go to a single lecture. They walk around the exhibit hall floor, they listen to lectures there, or they might sit in their hotel room right now because they're tired from last night watching this. And so my goal has always been to share free content that is of a benefit to people that are watching.
Love it.
And it's possible that a lecture in there by the most renowned researcher in orthodontics is not engaging to them. And maybe it should be. Maybe that's a whole other conversation. But so I applaud you for trying to bring value and content, and I'm on the same page. So let's jump into this. So I want you to tell me more about OrthoScience. I'll be very honest. I followed it. I feel like I understand what it is, and then I don't understand what it is. And now there's something called Polaris.
Yes.
And that's the name of like a jet ski. Right?
Somebody said it's a snowmobile.
It is a snowmobile. Okay.
Is it?
Well, something. I think it's a jet ski, but I could be wrong. So what's your vision? What is it? Tell me what I need to know.
So the company is OrthoScience. The product that we make for doctors is Polaris.
Okay.
Polaris is a platform, and I lectured on this on Saturday morning. So if there's any chance to go back, it's a quick half hour. It's like really easy to see the whole thing, soup to nuts, start to finish. But what it is, it's an environment for orthodontists, and it's based on very detailed and documented casework. and a carefully verified orthodontic community. So imagine Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest for healthcare, in particular for orthodontics. So one of the big challenges we have right now, all this sharing that's happening on social, especially on Facebook, that collaboration is important. We're learning a lot, right? Facebook's a really tricky place to go with healthcare data. There's so many things that are tricky about that. We've designed our platform to help orthodontists grow by learning from each other through casework and collaboration.
Yep.
So we've introduced a ton of new features this year because we're developing like crazy, one of which includes what we call Pulse, which is a modular form of posting that is like your orthodontic newspaper. So imagine you're going through your Facebook feed and you see all the cool things you like, but it's a bit more like Pinterest where everything is filtered. So you can actually quick filter. I just want to see clinical pearls today. I just want to see business thoughts. I just want to see stuff by guys I'm connected to, and I can save them all to my own private boards. So it's a way to organize all this information that's happening. We call it collaborative treatment intelligence because it is global. It's orthodontist only. You must be verified, and that's how we will stay. Okay. So it's a community where I can learn from you in either a global environment where we're talking in a large global discussion, or you and I can collaborate on a case privately, which is super awesome.
Yeah.
And then we can share that discussion and share cases and share content and files, and it's all HIPAA compliant, and it's cool. But I think you have to see it, you have to drive it.
Yeah.
We've been a little, purposefully cryptic on what we're building because everything is coming together so quickly. But once people get their fingers on it, and it's desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone. And once you start spinning this stuff around and seeing everything that's there, it becomes pretty addictive.
So I have about 1 million follow-up questions, but I don't want to take too much time.
Yeah, who are we gonna block out?
We're blocking out Dan Bills. It's okay. I guess a couple questions. This is the one I'll go with. What does it cost, really quickly?
Awesome.
Do we know?
Question. Absolutely. So there's tiers. So we've developed the community such that orthodontists can interact. I'm all about making orthodontists better. So our entry level, which is a pupil level, free.
Okay.
Every orthodontist,
Free sounds good.
Which sounds good. If you're an orthodontist, a licensed orthodontist that is verified, and currently we do a lot of that verification through the AAO, which is a really great way to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're a verified orthodontist, you get on our platform. Polaris at the pupil level is free.
Okay.
Now that means you can share cases, you can learn stuff. There's a HIPAA compliant messenger. You can share files. All that stuff is complimentary, simply because we want to engage a community where they can grow and learn. Bigger, advanced features. If you want to do collaboration with, a study club of 7 guys, and you want to share monster files, and you want to have, endless boards that you can customize. Those features, the first level, which is what we call a thinker level, starts at $99 a month.
Okay. It's reasonable.
Absolutely reasonable.
And then from there, it's $7,000 a month to be...
Our highest level is $499.
What's it called?
It's called the Sage.
The Sage.
So it's Pupil, Thinker, Savant, Sage.
I like the names.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot more coming out about it. I think we'll understand a lot more about it. I think my only other give me like 15 seconds, why someone should be on this instead of in the Facebook groups where a lot of this is free and open.
What's the biggest reason? HIPAA.
Well,
that's a big one.
Let's discount HIPAA for a second.
I think the second business, like, we're not trying to shut down the discussion on Facebook because I think it's super powerful. It's a different tone on Facebook, and so I think the biggest power play that the OrthoScience Pulse has over what we're currently doing in our digital groups is storability, sortability, and you can recall things. The biggest challenge I have I love the Facebook groups, by the way, all of them. The biggest challenge I have is I see something, right, go by my feed in the day, and it's cool, and I'm like, that was a great case, it was a really great tip by so-and-so. And then 2 weeks go by, and I'm like, man, what was that thing so-and-so posted? Yeah. If I have that on a board of cool stuff, that I can just go back and like, there's all the Kyle stuff. Let me just, great, I have it. Now I can share it with somebody else. that is what we're missing, and I think it's a cool
I'm
feature.
kind of shocked. I mean, this was a conversation from like 5 years ago, literally, an orthodontic exchange about if you could just catalog these topics. And now they have like the little topic thing that you can add, but it's still terrible at it.
I know.
So that
LinkedIn's actually, I think LinkedIn's a little more clever at that. Than
and Pinterest
what
is great at it.
And Pinterest,
yeah,
great at it.
Let's take 5 more minutes.
Yep.
And let's talk about a couple things. Man, I don't know.
You want to get to the hard question.
We got to have an hour. You're one that I knew we would need an hour
dude,
for. Let's see. Let's skip over this. Let's get an Airway. We talked to Glenn about this yesterday.
Yep.
Airway-friendly orthodontics, controversial thing. Even the idea of buying a CBCT is kind of a controversial thing.
100%.
Maybe less so, but just quickly, tell me,
Yeah, again, it's a little bit misunderstood because people really tend to go polar with these things. Like, most of us love black and white, and we really want an answer. Does it work? Doesn't it? And healthcare is never going to be that easy, nor is treatment. Like, if somebody just told you, Kyle, this is the class 2 corrector, this is the one that works.
Yeah.
Done. We solved it. That's never going to happen. And so the same thing is going on with Airway and cone beam and all these things. None of these are the answer.
Right.
Nor is one paper the answer to everything we want to know about orthodontics. So I think with Airway, the challenge was that, and a lot of what we do in our teaching is we talk about Airway a lot. Not because we know everything about it, and not because orthodontics cures sleep apnea. But the information that we do know is making us aware of what kind of changes we can observe. I think people are really getting caught up in this airway measurement. Like, we talk a lot about minimal cross-sectional area, and people are saying, that number is, if it's above this, it's, people are going to die, and expanders cure everything, and it's not that simple. Like, expanders are very effective at certain things. I use them a lot, and I've seen really great airway changes. Have I cured sleep apnea with them? I can't say that I have. Have I improved a lot of other transverse issues and potentially airway volume long term? I believe 100%. If you do nothing other than identify tonsillar hypertrophy and adenoid hypertrophy with a cone beam scan and that's your whole airway conscious approach, you will affect lives in your practice. I guarantee, meaningful changes for moms and kids if you identify those.
So I do that, and I think doctors have been doing that for decades. I hope maybe with
have they?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I didn't really
guess,
learn that.
So I did my thesis on airway, so maybe I've been more
you're
aware of it. I don't know. So maybe they have, and so
Yeah.
I do think the focus on that in and of itself is super important. I think there's been a pendulum swing in the medical community away from TNA.
Do you know why?
Well, they did it all the time in the 80s, right?
Do you know why?
No, I don't.
I will tell you the anecdotal reason that I know from my high-level ENTs. A lot of it came from a paper that was published around that time. TNAs, tonsils and adenoidectomies, were done for infection. They found that the recurrence rate was not being affected by the TNAs. So insurance companies said, not going to do them anymore. If I'm an ENT, I actually get reimbursed more for scoping your throat than I do for doing a TNA operation.
Interesting. Okay.
So the incentive is super low. Unless you find an ENT that's really sympathetic to the child's well-being and understands that TNAs are valuable long term, it's really hard to get them to go in the OR because it's a big procedure, and who's going to want to do a high-risk procedure for little compensation or appreciation?
Yeah,
it's hard. But nobody at that time was looking at airway volume or breathing capabilities. So I think it'll come back, but
so where did this? So to me, the idea that tonsils are too big, it makes it hard to breathe. Kids snoring, they're wet in the bed. To me, and maybe I've just moved into a part of our profession where this was already sort of accepted, or maybe I did the thesis and did the literature review. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I'm a unique snowflake, but where is this controversy coming from? I mean, I think people are accusing Henry Schein of some of this. What is the statement?
I don't think it's Schein at all.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, because I see a lot of controversy about it. Where is that starting?
So I lectured at the Midwinter.
Yeah.
And there was a polarizing feel to that lecture. I think it was extremely well put together because there were both sides of the story.
Yeah.
And I think people that were open-minded going into that learned a lot from both perspectives. But the challenge is if I'm an orthodontist super happy in my world, treating my patients fine. I'm getting success. I'm successful. If somebody comes along and says, you're going to need to learn about nasal turbinates because it affects you and you have control over it in some way. As an orthodontist, I'm gonna fight back a little bit, at least until somebody tells me a story. And I will tell you what changes doctors, and I see this across anyone who's, quote unquote, one of the Airway-Conscious doctors. It's one patient that they change the life so dramatically, whether they just ordered a TNA or did massive expansion or something. That one patient is what flips them, and most often it's their kid. So I think a lot of people, they'll make the change when they have that emotional story. But if it's just like, hey, Dr. Orthodontist, go do more work, please. It's kind of like,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I've seen pushback on the idea that why should we be the gatekeepers? What I have noticed, this is just anecdotally, is that pediatricians don't seem to look at it a lot, and they seem to kind of glaze over it a lot. And so, I've had kids where it's like, sometimes the adenoids are big, sometimes they're like clearly enormous. Like there's no way you could breathe through that. And the kid's like clearly got open mouth, gingivitis, yada yada. And you send it and they get the TNA and it changes their lives. I mean, it really can make a huge difference. So my son who's 2, he's a mouth breather. We have a thumb sucker who's our 4th kid. He just keeps getting worse and worse. We're going to have like a class 3 with our 5th. But he's going to the NT to get some tubes and some adenoids out.
See? So are you getting the tonsils and adenoids out?
Oh, I think they are. So let me end with this question. So a lot on the airway.
I wanted to go so much more on that.
No, I would love to. We'll do it on our hour episode when we get to that. I'm still trying to understand where this started, what the controversy is. Maybe it's just the title of it. Maybe the idea is that
I think that the nomenclature and what people use it's a little offensive. Like the airway friendly. As if there's an airway angry.
It's a false dichotomy, and maybe that's the problem. And I don't
it's
like
I'm
those.
class 2 friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't treat class 2s. I don't believe in them.
That's all I have.
Let me ask you this real quick. We're so over time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Give me one reason, 2 reasons why I should have a cone beam, because I don't.
I will give you one absolute reason: transverse dimension.
Okay.
That's number one. I would say it changes your orthodontic practice way more than you think it does. And what I've come to realize, I was 2D up until 2008.
Okay.
So my first cone beam came in 2008, but you have to go all in. This is the challenge. A lot of people get cone beams and then they pull out a Ceph and a pan. Just keep your Ceph and pan machine if you're going to do that. Yeah. But if you're going to go volumetric, go all in and learn to look at things in volume. If you start to understand transverse, and this goes for canine impactions, crowding, class 2 correction, it changes the game completely. Most of my problems that I treated the first half of my career, I've now realized were transverse problems more than anything. And it's hard to explain other than when you get it, that aha moment sticks really heavy. And it's so hard to communicate that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because, you're into the mountain.
You're obviously a smart guy, and I respect you a ton. And so someday I will get a CBCT. I'm enjoying not spending the money right now.
You will. It'll happen in time.
Maybe I got burned out on coming in with the thesis. You measure so many volumes.
You
probably
went in too deep.
Yeah, too deep is a 3rd year of resident. Yes. So I want to say this. Thank you for being on here. You were incredible.
Thank
Sean's got a million other things. He's got to go back to another panel and some other things. And,
there's some fun stuff we're doing. We got a women's thing this evening, which I think will be really exciting.
I saw the docket. If I can be there, I'd like to be there.
You're not a woman though, but that's okay.
It's a women only.
Well, yeah. With this one, they're kind of doing a thing. But
Sean,
not trying to break.
Fair enough. I won't be there then. Maybe the next time.
We're gonna do a man's only thing soon too.
Well, I don't know if that'll play well, but let's clap it up for Sean Carlson. Everyone's kind of chatting it up. Can you let me get your mic? And then Dan Bills is going to wrap us up. Sean, it was fantastic. Thank you very much. Oh,
I knew that would happen.
Here goes our mic.
That was so good.
Oh.
Everything's good?
We don't know.
It is. We'll hope that works.
Sean just tripped on the mic twice.
I'm going to do my best to not trip on anything.
Yeah, he has these cross trainers on. They look great.
These are my acronyms.
This is your athletic shoes. There you go.
Thanks, Tom.
Can you still hear Dan, everyone? I don't know. Thank you, Sean. Let's see. All right, Dan is here. Dan, thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you for having me.
We've had some talkative people.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's a good problem to have when you're a talk show
What are some from my GRE? They're very prolix.
Nice.
Lugubrious? No, lugubrious is not right. Do you remember those words? You had to learn.
I've tried to
synonyms?
forget them.
Try to forget them. Okay.
Yeah.
Very talkative people. So let me jump in real quick, Dan. If people don't know you, it actually wasn't the first time, but we were together yesterday. You moderated for my lecture, so thank you. Dan ushered me off the stage because I was talking too long. It was like showtime at the Apollo.
I followed Jeff Kozlowski's lead, ushering Neil off.
If you were at Anil's lecture yesterday, Jeff literally pushed him on. It was great.
Yes.
He started throwing
I didn't have
water
to do
bottles.
that for you. You were
No,
good.
That's great. I told you I was like 30 seconds. I'm done. Where'd you go to school? Where are you from? Where are you at now? All that good stuff.
So grew up in southern New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia. Went to Harvard for dental. Went to Illinois for ortho. Moved back to the area where I grew up. We've got 3 locations now, 2 that were startups from scratch, and then we bought an existing office about a year ago.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been fun. All in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Very nice. Okay. Your team was out there last night. They got serenaded by a man with a guitar. That was pretty classic.
And it was my birthday yesterday. So
that's right.
If I have no voice, I was out with my team celebrating the birthday.
Mine was May 3rd, May 4th. It's today's Cinco de Mayo. I always have a coffee mug. Says como se llama.
Nice.
So that was as close as we could get from the Walgreens. That was the closest thing to Cinco de Mayo we could find. I want to jump in.
Is there tequila in it?
No, this is water. It is clear, but it is water. You're lecturing twice, which is a huge honor. I'm also lecturing twice. We're in the Two Timers Club, which is, to be honest with you, maybe this seems normal to you. It does not seem normal to me.
It's exhausting.
On that level, yes, but just it's an honor. To be considered twice is amazing. Once is enough, but twice is great. Tell me what you're lecturing on. First lecture is how to run a modern-day observation program. That sounds awesome.
Yep.
Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so I did that on Saturday.
Okay.
And it was essentially something that we stumbled into. My wife is a pediatric dentist, and we found that we were having an influx of really young kids in the practice. And being able to more efficiently manage them just became a necessity, which ultimately turned into a passion and something that we've just been sharing with people. Tricks, keeping kids engaged, keeping them entertained. We're starting to do some virtual observation things in the practice, which is great. Yeah. Trying to find ways to streamline things and
virtual observations. Tell me about that.
So we're only doing it with my wife's office for now. So we've got a great software platform that we're using. Started out just for virtual consults from Clear Partnering Group. And we incorporated that into the observation side, where my wife's team will take a set of photos, upload it into the software platform that we could use for virtual consults. I then get the images that they take on my phone with a drop-down menu, essentially, that is, yes, everything looks good. This is Dr. Dan Bills. Everything looks great. Come back in 6 months. We'll take pictures at your 6-month hygiene recall. Or, hey, nothing to worry about, but I saw something on the x-rays that I want to take a closer look at. Let's get you into the office for a face-to-face consult.
So are they taking pans routinely then for you?
Once a year, they're taking pans.
Yeah, so that's the unique thing, is because my average, and I practice across the hallway from a pediatric dentist, they every 5 years sometimes. And sometimes they do it more often. But obviously insurance mostly pushes doctors to take it every 5 years at best. So
we're not charging for that. That's my wife's practice. So that's the whole thing. It's a different animal.
If you could somehow get people on board with taking them more regularly, yeah, that'd be great.
And you do lose touch points. I mean, it's all new, so we enjoy getting people into the office. But as you know, as you're growing, it's not that difficult to get people in every 6 months. When you become more established, we're on year 10 and 11. We're starting to see. I can't handle that kind of volume. See everybody 6 months and do a traditional 20, 30-minute observation appointment for everybody.
Yeah, man, obs appointments are very tough. You lost your mic. Here, we're going to go up here on the jacket.
All right, sounds good.
There you go. So observation is a challenge. We're trying to make it fun. I mean, maybe some of the things you talk about too is doing it as a kids club and having little gifts that they get, and we have a spinning wheel and all that kind of fun stuff. Trying to add entertainment value to it. But it does clog the system, and it is a hard thing to get someone in and out, provide value, and it not bog down your system. And so we have someone that is our patient care coordinator that handles those. What are a couple of other ideas?
Yeah, well, we've got an observation coordinator to handle that. One of the things I touched on is we found ways. We use Dolphin Management. I think every management software has a way to track non-patients. So we actually start getting kids in. If you came in with your baby, we would actually give them a bib with the practice logo on it, get them into our birthday club. track them as a non-patient, so it doesn't mess with my new patient call reports. And every year in their birthday month, they'll receive a gift from us.
Yep.
And at the end, the goal is on their 7th birthday, they get a giant card with information about the importance of seeing us at the right age.
Yeah.
But they don't get a gift in the mail. They come into the office for your complimentary consultation, and we have your gift for you.
Yeah,
so
that's a huge idea if anyone's watching and you're not doing that. I am doing that. I got this idea from, I think, Hurley and Volk.
Okay.
It may have come from you. I don't know.
I don't know.
Are you the one that started
I
this?
think I did, but with all these ideas, a lot of people come up with the same things
That's
at the
great.
same time.
Yeah,
it's
that's
been
amazing.
fun. And we did a little information sheet that talks about important points that are happening in the mouth at that age. So it's a little educational postcard at the same time. So hopefully my goal, and I don't know if any of it actually works, but we're conditioning people that they're reading it, and then when they actually read the one on their 7th birthday, maybe they're calling and coming in.
Well, I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, and if they get mail addressed to them, it's like
Yes.
the biggest thing ever. So I think
It's
it's a huge, like, and we have all times we have kids come in the office, so it's a very valuable way not valuable way. It's a great way to add value to that experience.
no doubt,
So
no doubt.
to include them in it. So I love it. It's a great idea. So thank you
thanks,
for
man.
adding that to our profession.
Yeah.
Your second lecture, pedo-ortho relationships.
Yes.
This is something I know a little bit about as well. Tell me if I'm getting into orthodontics. I've had people ask me, this weekend, how'd you get in with pedo and what are you doing? So I kind of give my spiel and what my scenario was. I was an associate in a pediatric office for 2.5 years, independent contractor, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then I have a situation now where I lease, right next down the hall from a pediatric office. No official arrangement, but they do refer all their patients to me, which is really sweet. That's not going to be an opportunity for everyone. I can go into why we have that engagement, but what is your situation with pedo-ortho?
Yeah, so I obviously stumbled into it or married into it. My wife.
That's right.
Yeah, my wife's a pediatric dentist.
So you need to marry a pediatric dentist. Okay.
Well, it comes with good points and bad points.
Yeah.
So I was in, my practice was probably 5 or 6 years old. My wife's a little younger than me when she finished her residency.
Okay.
I tried to talk her to go into ortho. I tried to talk her to go into basically anything except pedo because I was worried that it was going to affect my referral base. I then started looking at real estate, 30 miles away for her practice because I didn't want her anywhere near me, and she was going to keep her maiden name and all that stuff. And then I had an epiphany one day when I looked at my referral reports and I realized the world was changing, and we really had probably 60% of patients were referred to us from our own internal marketing, and I think it was something like under 5% were from pedo at that point.
Sure.
One of the big pediatric dentists in my area had just brought in their own orthodontist, and I was seeing things changing. So my wife loves telling her version of the story. I swear I called her first. I think, according to her, I bought the space next door and then called her and said, "Hey, I got your space." So that was the first office. Then the second one we built together.
Okay.
And then the third office was a dual-trained pedo-ortho that we bought last year. So we kind of have a handle on the different nuances. So when I was asked to do this lecture, I interviewed probably over 30 orthodontists, pediatric dentists in all different arrangements, kind of compiled. I'm going to end up writing a paper for the JCO on it. Somehow distill it down to 30 minutes on Monday, and you know how hard that can be.
You got a 30-minute
block?
Good.
Yeah, I did a 90-minute version at the Dolphin meeting. That was great. And I had to just distill that down to 30 minutes for Monday. So if anybody's watching,
it's just like my intro.
Yes, no, exactly.
Yeah,
no, it's going to be quick. I'm Dan, let's go. So
that's great.
It'll be fun.
So let me ask you very quickly, what would you say is the holy grail pedo-ortho relationship?
I don't think there's any one particular way. So for me, if the relationship is, if it's your spouse, if it's your best friend, if it's somebody that you would, go into a long-term business relationship, the partnership model really can work well.
Yeah.
But it's like a marriage. If things fail, I talked to some people where it didn't work, and it's worse than a divorce in a lot of cases.
Sure.
So the rent share seems to be maybe similar to what you're doing, similar space. You're next door, but you're totally separate business entities. My wife and I actually run our practice that way.
Yeah.
We'll see if we continue to do that. We're working with Kane Waters a little bit about getting creative with that. But that, I think, is the cleanest and the neatest. What I caution people about, and it was funny, and I'll give Neil Kravitz credit for this, is I was talking to him about it, and it was this quote. It was that pediatric dentists bring in orthodontists to make money. Orthodontists bring in pediatric dentists to control referrals. And it was a pretty powerful statement that, for us, it hurt. We were on a 35% growth clip at the time that my wife came in. Every year we were growing, 30 to 40%. It was year 5 or 6. We were still on the upswing. The year my wife opened her practice as a separate entity, next door, branded differently, under her maiden name, we went down 5%. So in my mind, that's a 40% swing.
Yeah.
So it hurt, but now we're year 6 of her practice. And what people don't realize is that initial, and Neil was great at, because Neil has a pedo associate.
Yeah.
Neil realized this, and we were talking about it. We're like, yeah, that's a big deal. The average age of a startup pedo practice is like 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Not
going to be
a lot of work there.
No, and then you start. So now we're at the point. My wife's on year 6, so those 3, 4, 5-year-olds are now 7, 8, 9. We don't do a ton of phase 1 in our office, but we're getting them into observation.
Yep.
Hopefully the gold mine happens in about 5 years.
Yeah,
We'll
so
see
I
what
think
happens.
I've heard 7 years is kind of the maturity level that you'd like for a pediatric office you're working
Yes.
with. Adam Schulhoff has talked about this in his lectures about
Yep.
how he started Kinder Smiles from day one and had a
Yep.
pediatric dentist, and he was like, it was a disaster because
Yeah.
like you can't treat 2 and 3-year-olds, you
No,
know,
exactly.
even if you wanted to.
And the fit out costs, and this is something that,
Yeah.
again, talking to Neil
Expensive.
about what he set up, they can't see patients out of our chairs, which is what I thought I wanted to do. Oh, just come in, and then all of a sudden you realize we need nitrous, which is a whole new setup that you need. My chairs, we can get things that just go up and down. You know, we've got great ortho chairs, but they're minimalist. Yeah, they need everything. You know, and so we ended up fitting out, another $300,000-$400,000 facility
It's
for
not
her.
cheap. Yeah, I do collaborate and have collaborated in 2 different, really 4 different offices with pedo, trying to work out of the chairs, doing bondings in a bench
Yep.
where they like rear delivery,
Yep.
we like side delivery. and
Exactly.
that's a nightmare.
Yep.
And I actually worked out for a year of a pedo office, and they had some articulating chairs, but some not. It was just uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. The ergonomics of it don't always make sense.
It's not ideal. So
everyone I talked to that did that did it for as long as they needed to,
Yeah.
save money, and then they ended up building either an ortho suite or a pedo
Yeah.
suite.
So that's sage advice for anyone that's considering that. I would say, though, that as things change, as you alluded to, I think being partnered up with a pediatric office is about as good of a portfolio differentiator as anything. So I think it's a no-brainer if you can make it happen.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this. You said 3 things that you're obsessed with. Digital lab workflows. We're going to do a couple minutes on each.
Yeah.
Work-life balance and practice culture. That's a lot to do in 2 minutes each.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Tell me about digital lab workflows. Give me a couple things there.
Yeah, so the whole thing for us, we've been scanning, everybody for the last 6 years. We haven't done any algae in our office for quite a while.
Wow.
I classify myself as a middle adopter when it comes to this stuff. We don't 3D print in the office. I use NeoLab, and they're fantastic, and we are able to get great appliances very quickly. It works well for us. No band fitting, a lot of the same stuff that everybody's doing. But just finding ways to make that patient experience better, especially with that pedo population, where we've got a lot of younger kids, and we've got people that come to us specifically because they know that we're scanning and we're making appliances without fitting bands.
You use iTero, Trios. What do you?
I've got iTeros in the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I use iTeros. What that's worth.
Yes.
You seemed like you were pained by that question.
I don't want to get a letter in the mail. No.
Well, I mean, what scanner you use?
No, we're using iTero. So the whole thing is, we've tried other scanners, and I don't like to too closely align myself with any particular company.
Oh yeah, sure enough.
Yeah.
And nor do I. That's just for me. That's the scanner that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It
does.
So
We're really happy.
my team likes it. Maybe someday it'll be different. Work-life balance. How do you ensure proper work-life balance?
I'm still trying to figure it out. So I do a lot of
You do both.
journaling. I use what's called a best self journal, where every morning, similar to what Anil talks about with a gratitude journal, but I essentially do block scheduling of my entire day. I do it the night before, figure out what I want to get done. The biggest thing for me, and you guys know this, we've got these incredibly long to-do lists that no matter how many things we get done, we always feel like we failed. So what this talks about is you pick 3 things. And if you get more than those 3 done, great. But when you get the 3 things done that you need to get done that day, you celebrate it like it's a win. And I don't think about the 100 other things on that list that I didn't get done. So I keep a separate to-do list, in my phone. The things I want to get done, I prioritize them. I classify them as either an energizing, a neutral, or a draining task. And I try not to put 3 draining tasks in one day.
Yeah.
So if I have one that has to get done and it's draining, I'll make sure the other 2 are energizing and fun. But when I'm done, it's that, I'm checking it off, but I'm celebrating it. I feel like I won my day, and then the beginning of the day and the end of the day are both the 3 things that I'm most grateful for.
Wow,
that
that's
I write
great.
down. It's fun. It takes a little bit of a commitment, and in the first couple weeks, it was tough to. There were times when I would get out of bed because I forgot to do it, and I forced myself to do it. And similar to I've seen people talk about their workout regimens where you just get in the habit of checking off that day. Once we got into it, it was actually pretty easy to keep up with, and for me that was big.
Yeah.
The other that I heard you talk about was the block emails. where I only check email twice a day, and that completely changed my life. I don't know if I heard it from you first. It might have been in a book that I read, but it was twice a day, not distracted. I'm in the moment. My phone's on Do Not Disturb in my pocket.
Yeah, I think it's all about intention, and any like super successful person, they have a regimen, they have a schedule, they stick to it, they have a pattern for the day, and it's this difference in making life work for you versus like just taking whatever life brings to you.
Yep.
And I think if you're going to be truly successful and optimize your time and really reduce stress and stay focused, I mean, all these things I talked about yesterday, like you have to attack the day.
Yep.
And it starts the night before you wake up the next day.
Without a doubt.
So you have to be planned for the next day. And so,
Yep.
that's great stuff. I'm sure we share a lot in common there. I do it a little bit differently. I actually have found that for me, at least, it's helpful to write out everything for the week on Monday, and then I try and attack things per day. But what you said about the draining versus the energizing task is so true, because the big hairy task is always the last one.
No, exactly.
And sometimes I'll like literally add tasks that I know are going to take me like 2 minutes just so I can check it off. But there's something special that comes with marking something off a list and knowing what's there. And Peter Drucker has a book called Getting Things Done, I think it is, that alludes to some of this. He talks about loops, and if loops are open, they kind of like cloud your mind, and they give you stress. So you need to close as many loops as you can. So anything you can do right then and be done with it is huge. So that made a huge thing, a bit of difference for me.
No doubt.
I'm sure a lot of you are even better at that than I am. Let's jump into this. We've got 5 minutes. This is great. Practice culture was your third thing that you're interested in. What are 3 things that contribute to you having a great culture? And your team did. It seemed like y'all got along really well. What I can see.
So one, it's finding the right people. So making sure that the hiring process is dialed in, and we started to do more group interviewing. I think Chris Feldman had talked to me about that a while back, where we bring them in. We want to make sure they get along well with my team. My team goes out to lunch with them. I don't.
Oh, wow.
And anything that we do has to be approved by my team. So they'll come to me, and it happens where there's somebody that maybe I like, and I'm like, oh, that person's great. And they just look at me, I'm like, all right, that's it. And I have to trust that my team, is making the right decision in a lot of those cases. Then once we get them in, it's just a matter of having a culture where people like coming to work every day. So we take really good care of our team. We celebrate. You may have seen it on Facebook. I get a lot of comments. Some of my general dentists are actually pretty upset with how vocal we are about how much we love our team, and we give them incredibly nice anniversary gifts and birthday gifts. And as we've grown, we're up a little over 30 employees now between ortho and pedo. Wow. It gets pricey, but it's worth it for us. And we let them know with their anniversaries, the value of the gift goes up every year. We just had my very first employee. We're on our 11th year of practice, so she was with me for 10 years. Still with me. She's my head TC. We sent her and her husband on a cruise for a 10-year anniversary. And we celebrate it. And hopefully it's a place that people want to be. But it's got to be real. When I watch your lecture, I watch Anil's lecture, Neil's, Cole's. I'm sure I've been crying like a baby watching Cole speak. It has to be real. You can't interview somebody and tell them you've got this great culture and you care about your team, and then you berate them every day and treat them like garbage. And, it has to. What you saw last night was real. That was my team. We like hanging out together. They had me out too late for my birthday, and that's fun.
Yeah, there was some social lubricant that helps. Helps us have more fun.
Exactly.
No, that's great. I think what I found about culture is sometimes you understand what your culture is, but if you're not great at communicating it, and I think even more so if you're not great at living it out, and that's every day, then it's never going to take hold. And of course, the people you got on the team is a huge part of that, and that can be destructive to the culture. What I've also learned as someone that literally had a cold start is that it does take time. It takes time to establish the norms and establish the culture, and people will try and break away from that like kids do. They break away from the rules, and you bring them back in, you say that's not how it works. And you have to let people go when they don't adhere to it long enough. When the sheep gets far enough outside of the fence, you have to let them go.
And when you mentioned the cold start too, I didn't know what culture meant when I started. I knew how to straighten teeth. I knew nothing about business. I didn't know anything about team building. And some people are better at that. I think your generation is better at maybe
my generation.
Yeah, dude,
we're the same generation, right?
I don't think so. I'm 44, man.
Are you 44?
What are you, 25?
Thank you. I'm 35. You do not look 44.
Well,
okay,
you.
I guess we are.
But I wasn't taught to be that self-aware and to understand that. And now it's funny, I've become the therapist in my family, and there's conflict. People come to me, and I don't know when that happened. I just, like you, I read incessantly, and I want to actually practice what I preach and live the life that I want want my patients to feel.
Great.
Yeah.
Very, very well done. I want to wrap up with this question. This will be
Yeah.
it for our lectures from the AAO. But I've heard that you have an in-office course that's incredible. Everyone's gone. I think like Ben Fishbein has one. I hear great things.
Yep.
Heard great things about you. How long have you done that?
Yeah, so we're on our 3rd year, so we do 2
Okay.
a year. It's the Empowered Orthodontist. It's empoweredortho.com if anybody wants to check it out. We keep it intentionally small, so we limit it to 7 teams, doctor and 2 team members, so 20, 21 people total. We do a half day in a hotel, just clinical lecturing, not clinic, more in-office systems. A lot of paperless new patient process. A lot of people want to learn about some culture stuff. Then we go to the office and we do, excuse me, some of the digital workflow. And then I bring everybody to my house. We have a nice party at the house at night.
Cool.
And then the next day we're in another one of our locations where I bring in some good guest speakers because people are tired of hearing me. Chris Feldman's been there. Dr. Mike Bicknell's been there. And talk more about a lot of this culture type stuff and team building. And it's fun. So we have a good time.
Yeah, right on. How did you decide to do that?
So one of the things I realized, and I had no intention of doing it, is it was actually my COO, Maria, that told me essentially I have to do it or she's going to quit. Because after a lecture, and you get this, you're talking about things that maybe people want to do, but they don't really know how to do it. Especially, it sounds silly now, but 3 years ago, having an intraoral scanner and figuring out how to put that into your day-to-day workflow, how to template it, how to schedule, what are the order of appointments. People didn't know how to do that, and there were a lot of doctors that wanted to follow up on a lecture topic, but see it in action and bring their team to see it in action. And we would get a lot of calls after lectures, can we come to the office, can we come to the office, can we come to the office? And I'm not good at saying no, and I still am not, but we needed to organize it. So that's where that came from.
Well, cool. That's all we got, man. That was incredible.
No, it was
Thank
fun.
you. We got to
Thank
do
you
it.
for having me.
I keep telling people that we got to do a full interview sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still reeling from you being 44.
Thanks, man.
If I can look like that at 44, and I think I might.
Yeah,
I think I might.
trust me, you will.
We're going to wrap it up. For all of you here at the American Association of Orthodontists Annual Session, it's been great so far. I really enjoyed it. LA is kind of weird.
I haven't
weird.
left the convention center, to be honest with you. The hotel, the convention center, and the surrounding. It's been great. Kudos to the people organizing.
If you're in a wheelchair at this convention center, this is a tough spot for you. It's just stairs everywhere.
Yeah.
We have a stroller. I have a baby, so it's been like really tough. You don't realize that. It's like, where's the elevator at in this place? So, but thank you, Dan, for being on here. We're gonna wrap up with a song. You can just hang tight. We will be back probably sometime later this fall with new episodes. The Digital Orthodontist. This wraps up season 1, I'm calling it.
Okay.
So 10 episodes. Season 2 will return at some point. If you have people that you'd like to see on this show, let me know. I don't know what the next one will be. Maybe an Orthopreneurs meeting, something like that. We'll get together. It's fun to get together and do interviews. But that's all I've got. Come by and see me at the Neon Canvas booth if you're here in Los Angeles, or come by and say hi. We appreciate everyone for watching. You'll have a wonderful Sunday. We'll see you next time. Thank y'all.
Thanks for tuning in.
Y'all. I always say y'all. It's my Southern heritage. Thank you. Bye-bye.